The spaceship Artemis glided silently through the dark expanse of space. Inside, the crew moved with quiet precision, each member absorbed in their task. Jack Miller, the mission leader, checked the navigation panels one last time. Olivia Bennett, the ship's biologist, reviewed her notes, while Luke Harris, the engineer, ensured the engines were running smoothly. Their mission was to explore new worlds and establish contact with intelligent life. And today, they were approaching a planet that sensors said could support complex life. As they descended into the atmosphere, the crew could see the planet's surface covered in vibrant forests, sparkling rivers, and towering mountains. The colors were richer than any planet they had seen before. Jack smiled, feeling a mix of excitement and responsibility. He knew first contact could be dangerous, but it was also an opportunity to learn and make a difference. Once they landed, the crew stepped out of the ship. The air was breathable and the temperature was mild. Birds with colorful feathers flew overhead, and strange plants with glowing leaves surrounded them. The planet felt alive, almost welcoming. Olivia knelt to examine some of the plants, taking samples for later study. Luke examined the soil and rocks, noting the unusual minerals. Suddenly, movement caught their eyes. A figure emerged from the forest, graceful and unlike any creature they had seen before. It was a humanoid, tall and slender, with skin that shimmered slightly in the sunlight. Large, expressive eyes studied them curiously. This was Lyra, the alien girl who had been observing the humans from a distance. Jack stepped forward slowly, raising his hands in a gesture of peace. Olivia stayed close, her eyes wide with fascination. Luke kept a hand near his communicator, ready to call for backup if needed. Lyra tilted her head, studying them silently, then spoke in a clear, melodic voice. "Humans really do that to reproduce? Can I try?" she asked, her tone innocent but filled with curiosity. Jack froze for a moment, caught off guard by the question. He looked at Olivia, who raised her eyebrows. They had encountered many species, but none had been so direct or so curious about human biology. Jack took a deep breath and responded carefully. "Lyra, reproduction is a very personal and private thing for humans," he said gently. "It is part of how we make families, but it is also about love, trust, and care. It is not something that can be just tried without understanding the responsibilities involved." Lyra's eyes widened, showing both surprise and interest. She took a step closer, examining the humans more intently. "I want to understand," she said simply. "Not just the act itself, but the meaning, the feelings, the bonds. I want to learn how humans connect." Olivia stepped forward, sensing the alien girl's genuine curiosity. "We can show you some aspects of human life," she said. "We can teach you about relationships, family, and how we care for each other. But some things are private and must be experienced with consent and understanding." Lyra nodded thoughtfully. She seemed to grasp the concept, even if it was new to her species. She studied the humans for a moment, then asked, "Can I watch? Can I see how humans bond?" Jack and Olivia exchanged glances, then agreed. They decided to demonstrate human bonding through storytelling, art, and shared experiences rather than direct reproduction. They wanted to teach Lyra the emotional and social aspects of being human first. Over the next few hours, they set up a small camp near the ship. Jack shared stories of human families, friends, and communities, describing the emotions and responsibilities involved. Olivia played music, showing how humans express feelings through songs and rhythms. Luke demonstrated games and simple exercises that required cooperation, trust, and communication. Lyra watched everything with intense focus. She laughed at the playful moments, tilted her head in curiosity at emotional stories, and asked questions about human choices, love, and care. She seemed to understand more with each passing moment, absorbing the lessons like a sponge. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, Lyra sat quietly, reflecting on what she had learned. "Humans are different from what I expected," she said softly. "More complex, more connected," Jack nodded. "Yes, we are complex, but our connections are what make us strong. We care for each other, we work together, and we form bonds that help us survive and thrive." Lyra smiled, a gesture that seemed almost human. She looked up at the stars beginning to appear in the night sky. "I want to learn more," she said. "About your feelings, your choices, your lives. I want to understand what makes humans so unique." Olivia placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "And we will help you, Lyra. But you must also be patient. Understanding humans takes time. It is not something that can be rushed." The night passed peacefully, with the humans and Lyra sharing stories, laughter, and quiet moments of reflection. The bond between them began to grow, not as teacher and student alone, but as beings genuinely curious about one another. Jack looked at his team and then at Lyra. He realized that this encounter was not just about exploration. It was about learning, trust, and connection across species. He felt a sense of hope, knowing that humans could make a difference simply by being themselves, curious, empathetic, and resilient. As dawn approached, Lyra stood and stretched, looking more determined than ever. "I want to continue learning," she said. "I want to see how humans live, how they care, and how they love. I want to understand everything." Jack smiled, feeling a mixture of pride and responsibility. "Then we will continue, Lyra. We will show you what it means to be human, and maybe in the process we will learn from you as well." The first contact had gone better than they could have imagined. There were challenges ahead, but the curiosity and openness of Lyra gave the humans hope. They knew that through patience, understanding, and mutual respect, they could bridge the gap between worlds. As the sun rose higher, casting golden light over the forests of Arendor, the humans and Lyra prepared for the days ahead. There would be lessons, discoveries, and perhaps even dangers, but they were ready. For the first time, they felt the true weight and wonder of meeting a being so different, yet so eager to understand humanity. And Lyra, the stunning alien girl, stood at the edge of the camp, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. She was ready to explore not just the humans, but the essence of what made them strong, compassionate, and endlessly fascinating. After the first night on Arendor, the humans and Lyra began to explore the planet together. Jack, Olivia, and Luke led the way, showing Lyra the forests, rivers, and strange creatures that lived there. Lyra followed closely, her eyes wide with wonder, asking questions about everything she saw. "What is this plant?" she asked, pointing to a tall fern with glowing blue leaves. Olivia knelt beside it. "This is called a lumifern. It uses light to attract insects that help it grow. Humans study plants like this to learn about nature and how it can help us." Lyra reached out, touching the leaves gently. She seemed fascinated by the way the plant glowed when her fingers brushed against it. "Humans study, but do you also use plants for food?" she asked. "Yes," Olivia replied. "We eat some plants, and we also use others for medicine or to create things that help us. Humans are curious and creative, so we always try to learn from nature." As they walked, Lyra observed everything carefully. She watched how the humans interacted with each other, how they spoke politely, shared ideas, and helped one another. She began to understand that being human was not just about biology, but also about connection and cooperation. Jack led the group to a river where the water sparkled in the sunlight. He showed Lyra how humans fish and gather water safely. Luke demonstrated a small experiment, using stones to measure the speed of the river flow. Lyra watched intently, asking questions and taking notes in her own way. "Why do humans measure things like this?" she asked. "Because we like to understand the world around us," Jack explained. "Measuring helps us learn, plan, and sometimes survive. It is part of how we explore new places." Lyra nodded. She seemed to absorb every detail, comparing it to what she knew of her own planet. She began to ask questions about human family life, friendship, and emotions. Jack and Olivia shared stories of how humans care for children, how friends support each other, and how love forms strong bonds. "Humans are very connected," Lyra said softly. "On my planet, we do not show emotions in the same way. We focus on survival and logic. But humans, you have something more?" Olivia smiled. "Yes, our connections make us stronger. We feel, we care, and we help each other. Even when it is hard, we try to understand one another." Lyra looked thoughtful. "I want to learn these feelings. I want to experience what it means to care, to bond, to understand someone else." Jack nodded. "Then we can teach you, but it will take time. Understanding humans is not just about learning facts. It is about observing, feeling, and practicing empathy." Over the next few days, the humans taught Lyra in many ways. They shared stories around small fires, showing how humans use language to express complex thoughts and emotions. Olivia played music that made Lyra smile and sometimes tear up, demonstrating how humans express feelings through art. Luke taught simple games that required teamwork and trust, showing how humans build cooperation and mutual respect. Lyra tried everything eagerly. She laughed at the playful games, listened intently to the stories, and even attempted to play simple tunes on a small instrument Olivia gave her. Her curiosity was insatiable, and the humans admired her determination to learn. One day, Lyra asked a difficult question. "Why do humans sometimes hurt each other even when they care?" she asked. Her eyes were serious, searching. Jack looked at her, understanding the complexity of her question. Humans are not perfect, he said slowly. We make mistakes, sometimes because we are scared, angry, or confused. But even when we hurt each other, we try to fix it, to forgive and to learn. That is part of being human. Lyra thought deeply. Your emotions are strong, she said. They can make you happy or sad, but they also make you brave and kind. I want to understand all of it. The humans continued their lessons, sharing both joyful and challenging experiences. Lyra began to mimic human gestures like hugging to show comfort, smiling to show friendship, and holding hands to show trust. She also started to recognize subtle signs like tone of voice or facial expressions, understanding their meanings. One evening, they returned to the ship after a long day of exploration. Lyra looked at the stars and asked, Humans, do you fear the unknown? Olivia nodded. Sometimes we do. Exploring new places and meeting new beings can be scary, but we also feel excitement and hope. That balance is part of what makes us human. Jack added, and fear is not always bad. It teaches us caution and makes us prepared. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the choice to face it anyway. Lyra absorbed these words, contemplating them under the twinkling stars. She realized that human courage, curiosity, and emotional depth were all connected. It was not just biology that made humans unique, but the combination of heart, mind, and spirit. The days passed with continued learning and gentle discoveries. Lyra began to ask more about human relationships, how families stay together, how friends support each other, and how humans express love in small, meaningful ways. She observed the humans' teamwork, their care for one another, and the way they solved problems creatively. Jack noticed that Lyra was changing too. She was becoming more thoughtful, more aware of emotions, and more willing to consider perspectives other than her own. He realized that teaching her was also teaching himself about patience, understanding, and communication across species. One morning, as they walked through a valley filled with strange flowers, Lyra stopped and asked, Humans, can I really understand your feelings fully? Olivia smiled gently. It takes time, Lyra. Understanding feelings is a journey. You may not grasp everything at once, but with patience and observation, you will learn more each day. Lyra looked determined. I will try. I want to know humans, not just their actions, but their hearts. That day they explored a cave system where crystals glowed softly, casting light in every direction. The humans showed Lyra how they navigate challenges together, relying on trust, communication, and problem-solving skills. Lyra marveled at their methods, noting how humans balanced logic with emotion to overcome obstacles. As night fell, the group returned to the camp. They shared stories of the day's discoveries and reflected on what they had learned. Lyra spoke about her growing understanding of humans, describing how their connections, courage, and curiosity inspired her. Jack, Olivia, and Luke felt a sense of accomplishment. They had not only shared knowledge about humans, but had also built a bridge of trust and understanding with a being from another world. Lyra was no longer just an observer. She was a student and a companion on a journey of discovery. As Lyra gazed at the stars, she whispered, Humans are truly remarkable. I want to learn more, to understand more. I want to know how you live, how you care, how you love. Jack smiled, feeling a quiet pride. Then we will continue, Lyra. Each day we will show you more, and together we will explore not just the planet, but what it means to be human. The bond between humans and Lyra grew stronger, built on curiosity, respect, and mutual learning. They had crossed the first barrier of understanding, and ahead lay more lessons, discoveries, and challenges. Together, they would continue their journey exploring the wonders of Arendor and the depths of human nature. After several days of exploration, Lyra's curiosity about humans grew deeper. She wanted to understand not just how humans lived, but how they created life, cared for it, and formed bonds that lasted generations. Jack, Olivia, and Luke noticed her intense interest and decided to guide her through lessons on human biology, parenting, and emotional connections. Jack began by explaining human families in simple terms. Humans form families to care for each other, he said. Parents raise children together, teaching them skills, morals, and values. It is not just biology. It is about guidance, love, and responsibility. Lyra listened intently. She took mental notes and asked questions. Do humans always stay with their children? What if they do not want to? She asked, tilting her head. Olivia responded gently. Most humans try to stay with their children. Sometimes life makes it difficult, but care and love are always important. Children need guidance to grow safely and to learn about the world. Lyra nodded, absorbing every word. She was fascinated by the human balance between instinct and choice. She compared it silently to her own species, which reproduced logically and without much emotional involvement. To give Lyra a more practical understanding, Olivia showed her how humans nurture. She demonstrated caring behaviors with simulated infant dolls, teaching Lyra how humans feed, protect, and comfort their young. Lyra imitated every action, showing precision and genuine interest. She seemed amazed at the depth of attention and patience required. Humans invest so much time, Lyra said quietly. They love even before the child grows. They prepare, they teach, they guide. Jack added, yes, that is what makes humans unique. We connect not just for survival, but for meaning and emotional bonds. Lyra's curiosity did not stop there. She wanted to understand how humans cared for each other beyond family. She asked about friends and communities. Jack and Olivia explained that humans form friendships based on trust, support, and shared experiences. These bonds often last a lifetime, and friends can be as important as family. To demonstrate, the humans played cooperative games with Lyra. They built shelters, solved puzzles, and navigated obstacles together. Lyra quickly understood the value of teamwork, and she began to recognize how emotional support, encouragement, and patience were as vital as logic and skill. One day, while exploring a meadow of strange flowers, Lyra asked, "Humans, do you ever fight or argue? How does that affect your bonds?" Jack smiled slightly. "Yes, we do argue sometimes. It is natural when people have different opinions or desires, but humans also learn to forgive, to apologize, and to reconcile. That process makes bonds stronger." Lyra considered this, realizing that humans were complex creatures. Their emotions could lead to conflict, but also to understanding and growth. She started to see why humans were admired by other species for their adaptability and resilience. As part of her learning, the humans introduced Lyra to the concept of love and affection in human life. They explained that love was not only romantic, but also the basis of strong friendships and family ties. They shared stories, poems, and songs that conveyed feelings, showing Lyra the beauty and power of emotional expression. Lyra tried to replicate some expressions of love and care. She hugged a doll tenderly, smiled at the humans, and even tried to compose simple sounds to convey her feelings. Her attempts were awkward at first, but the humans encouraged her, praising her effort and sincerity. Meanwhile, Lyra's own people watched from a distance. Some were curious, others suspicious. A few feared that humans might influence Lyra too strongly. Jack sensed the tension and prepared to address any concerns, determined to maintain trust while continuing Lyra's education. One afternoon, as they rested by a crystal-clear lake, Lyra asked a bold question. "Can humans teach me how to create life as you do?" Jack paused, considering carefully. "We can explain biology, genetics, and reproduction scientifically. But creating life is not something to rush. It requires understanding, responsibility, and care," Olivia added. "We can show you the principles safely, using simulations and observations. But the real responsibility comes with knowledge and experience. Life is precious, and humans respect it deeply." Lyra nodded seriously. She was eager, but also beginning to understand the weight of the knowledge. She wanted to learn everything, not just the act, but the meaning behind it. Over the next days, Jack and Olivia guided Lyra through human reproductive biology using models, simulations, and careful explanations. Lyra asked endless questions, fascinated by how humans combined science and emotion in their relationships. She studied DNA patterns, cell development, and the roles of parents in nurturing life. Lyra began to connect the lessons to her own species. She saw that while her people reproduced logically, humans had created bonds and emotional depth that enhanced survival, social stability, and happiness. She wondered how she could apply these lessons responsibly to her own kind. One evening, as they observed the sunset from a hilltop, Lyra reflected aloud. "Humans are more than strong bodies and clever minds. You have hearts that guide your choices, and you protect and care because of them. It is not easy, but it makes you resilient." Jack nodded, feeling the truth in her words. Yes, our emotions are a part of our strength. They teach us patience, courage, and empathy. Without them, humans would not have survived or thrived across so many challenges. Lyra smiled, a quiet determination in her eyes. "I want to learn more, not just to observe, but to understand and practice. I want to see how humans live, how they care, and how they face challenges with both mind and heart." The bond between Lyra and the humans grew deeper. She was no longer a distant observer but an active learner, eager to engage with human ideas, feelings, and actions. Jack, Olivia, and Luke felt a sense of purpose and responsibility, knowing they were guiding a being from another world toward understanding not just humanity, but connection and compassion. As nights fell and stars shone above, Lyra would often look up in wonder, contemplating the lessons of the day. She began to dream of applying these insights to her own species, imagining a future where logic and emotion worked together. She felt a new respect for humans, recognizing that their strength lay not only in survival but in empathy, creativity, and the bonds they formed. One day, as they trekked through a valley filled with luminescent flowers, Lyra turned to Jack and asked, "Humans, can I one day care as you do? Can I really understand these feelings?" Jack smiled, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You are learning, Lyra. Understanding takes time and patience, but with your curiosity and effort you will grow. The journey is as important as the destination." Lyra nodded, her eyes shining with determination. She understood that learning human ways was not simple or quick. It required observation, practice, and reflection. But she was ready. The humans had opened a window to a new understanding, and she was eager to step through it. The days continued with lessons, exploration, and shared experiences. Lyra learned about human problem-solving, compassion, and decision-making. She witnessed their creativity, their humor, and the care they extended to one another and to life around them. She realized that human strength came not from power alone, but from heart, mind, and spirit working together. As they prepared to explore new regions of Arendor, Jack, Olivia, Luke, and Lyra felt a deep sense of connection. They had begun a journey of mutual learning and respect, discovering that even across species, curiosity, care, and empathy could create strong bonds. And Lyra, the stunning alien girl, felt a growing admiration for humans. She was eager to continue learning, to understand the full depth of their lives, and perhaps one day, to carry these lessons back to her own people in a way that honored both logic and emotion. As the humans and Lyra continued exploring Arendor, they discovered new regions of the planet filled with unusual creatures and landscapes. Lyra's curiosity about humans' abilities and behaviors grew even stronger. She wanted to see not only how humans lived, but how they faced challenges and solved problems together. One morning, the group encountered a dense forest where the trees were enormous, and the ground was uneven. Strange animals scurried among the undergrowth. Lyra looked nervous, unsure how to proceed. Jack held out his hand. "We will go slowly, observe, and help each other. Humans use teamwork to overcome obstacles. It is part of how we survive and thrive," Olivia added. "And we also respect the world around us. We do not destroy unless necessary. Humans balance action with thought." As they moved through the forest, Lyra noticed the humans' careful observation. Jack checked paths. Luke examined unusual plants for hazards, and Olivia noted signs of animal activity. Lyra realized humans combined curiosity with caution, intelligence with care. Suddenly, they heard a low growl nearby. A large four-legged creature emerged, its eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. Lyra froze, unsure what to do. Jack stepped forward calmly. "Stay together," he instructed. "Do not run. Move slowly. We will guide it away." The humans demonstrated patience and strategy. Luke distracted the creature with a sound, while Jack and Olivia created a path for it to retreat. Lyra watched in amazement. She had seen her species respond with force first, but humans solved problems with thought, cooperation, and minimal harm. After the encounter, Lyra asked, "Why do humans think before acting? Why not just fight?" Jack smiled. "Thinking first helps us survive and keep others safe. We use our minds as much as our bodies. Violence is sometimes necessary, but understanding and planning are stronger tools." Lyra nodded thoughtfully. She began to see why humans were admired across galaxies. Their strength was not only in skill or biology, but in intelligence, creativity, and restraint. Days passed with more lessons. Jack and Olivia introduced Lyra to the concept of human problem-solving in groups. They worked together to build temporary shelters, find food, and navigate challenging terrain. Lyra practiced cooperation, learning how to listen, contribute, and adapt. One afternoon, they came across a deep canyon. The only way across was a narrow, slippery ledge. Lyra hesitated, fearing the height. Jack encouraged her gently. "Take small steps, trust your balance, and focus. We will support you." Olivia held Lyra's hand as she stepped cautiously. Luke guided them from behind, giving advice and reassurance. Lyra focused, feeling the humans' confidence in her. One careful step at a time, she crossed the ledge, gaining a sense of accomplishment and trust in human guidance. Humans are patient and careful, Lyra said, smiling. You teach, guide, and protect without forcing. It is different from my people, but I like it. Jack nodded. We value cooperation and respect. That is how humans survive, explore, and build relationships. Strength is not just physical. It comes from trust and understanding. As they continued, Lyra's understanding of human bonds deepened. She observed how humans encouraged each other, shared burdens, and celebrated small successes. She realized that humans' emotional intelligence was as important as their logic and strength. One evening, as they rested by a glowing river, Lyra asked a question that surprised the humans. Humans, why do you care so much for each other, even strangers? Olivia smiled softly. Humans understand that life is connected. Helping others is part of survival. Yes, but also part of meaning. We feel empathy and responsibility for others. It is what makes us human, Jack added. We also gain strength from caring. Bonds with others give us courage, patience, and resilience. When we protect or help others, we are protecting ourselves in a way. Lyra reflected. Beginning to understand the depth of human morality and compassion, she realized that humans' connections and values were essential to their survival and success, not just their physical abilities. As they moved to a mountainous region, the group faced new challenges. The terrain was steep and the weather unpredictable. Lyra struggled at first, unsure how to navigate the slippery rocks. Jack taught her to observe, plan, and adjust her steps carefully. Olivia shared techniques for endurance and focus, while Luke explained how to use simple tools to make climbing easier. Lyra gradually adapted, learning to combine her instincts with human strategies. She felt a new sense of confidence, not just in her physical abilities, but in her capacity to think, observe, and cooperate. She began to feel what it meant to rely on others and be relied upon. One night, under a sky full of stars, Lyra spoke softly. Humans are not just strong or clever. You are brave, patient, and caring. You do not rely on force alone. You think, feel, and help each other. It makes you powerful in a way my people do not understand. Jack smiled, feeling a deep satisfaction. Yes, that is part of being human. Strength comes in many forms, and one of the strongest is the bond we share. As they descended into a valley filled with glowing plants, the humans demonstrated how to use knowledge, observation, and care to navigate safely. Lyra observed and participated, feeling her understanding of human methods and philosophy grow. She saw that humans did not just survive. They thrived through cooperation, empathy, and intelligence. One day, Lyra asked about human decision-making when lives were at risk. Jack explained that humans consider multiple factors, weigh consequences, and often act with both logic and empathy. He told stories of humans saving strangers, negotiating conflicts peacefully, and balancing risk with responsibility. Lyra listened carefully, noting the contrast with her species, who prioritized efficiency over emotion. She began to appreciate the complexity and depth of human choices, recognizing that morality, empathy, and courage were interwoven with survival. During their time in the mountains, a small challenge arose. A sudden rock slide blocked their path back to camp. Lyra panicked at first, but Jack and Olivia guided her through safe routes, demonstrating calm assessment and teamwork. Luke found a solution using natural tools to create a temporary bridge. Together, they overcame the obstacle without harm. Lyra marveled at the humans' approach. Your people do not panic. You think, plan, and work together. It is different from my instincts, but it works. Humans are remarkable, Jack smiled. It is not just skill. It is trust, patience, and care. Humans survive by helping each other, not just themselves. As they camped for the night, Lyra reflected on all she had learned. She had seen courage, empathy, patience, and intelligence in action. She had observed how humans cared for one another, made decisions, and solved problems creatively. She began to see that being human was about more than biology. It was about connection, responsibility, and understanding. The bond between Lyra and the humans had grown stronger. She trusted them, learned from them, and began to emulate their ways. She realized that the lessons of bravery, patience, and empathy were as vital as knowledge or skill. She felt a deep respect and admiration for humanity. As dawn broke, casting light over the mountains, Lyra stood and looked at her companions. I want to continue learning, she said. Not just about your planet, but about your ways, your hearts, and your minds. I want to understand humans fully. Jack nodded. We will continue, Lyra. Each day brings new lessons and you are ready to learn more. Together, We will explore not just Arendor, but what it means to be human. The journey continued with challenges, discoveries, and shared experiences. Lyra's understanding deepened, and the humans were reminded of their own resilience, patience, and strength. They had shown that cooperation, empathy, and intelligence could bridge worlds and species, creating bonds that transcended differences. And Lyra, the stunning alien girl, felt her admiration and understanding of humans grow. She was ready for the next step, eager to learn more about the beings whose courage, care, and wisdom had already changed her perspective forever. The days on Arendor passed quickly, and Lyra's understanding of humans grew deeper. She had learned about their courage, patience, and care, and she now wanted to understand how humans lived their lives fully, their joys, fears, and relationships. Jack, Olivia, and Luke continued guiding her, showing her both the challenges and the beauty of human existence. One morning, the group traveled to a valley filled with soft grass and colorful flowers. Lyra was fascinated by the small animals playing and humans interacting with the environment. She observed how Jack and Olivia worked together, sharing tasks, planning, and solving problems without conflict. Luke demonstrated how humans use tools and simple machines to make work easier, and Lyra eagerly participated. "Humans are so cooperative," Lyra said, touching the grass gently. "You do not act alone. Even small tasks are shared. It is different from my people, but I see the strength in it." Jack smiled. "Humans survive and thrive by working together. Trust and cooperation are as important as strength or skill." Lyra nodded, reflecting on her own experiences. She realized that humans valued relationships and emotional bonds as much as practical outcomes. She wanted to see more of how these connections shaped human life. Over the next few days, the humans taught Lyra about family and friendship. They explained that humans care for children, siblings, and friends, sometimes even strangers, creating networks of support. Lyra practiced these behaviors through role-playing exercises and simple simulations. She learned to comfort, encourage, and cooperate with others, understanding that emotions were tools as important as logic. One evening, as the sun set in shades of gold and purple, Lyra asked a question that had been on her mind. "Humans, how do you face danger without fear? How do you stay brave when things are uncertain?" Olivia looked thoughtful. "Humans feel fear, but courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is acting despite fear. We trust each other, use our knowledge, and make choices carefully. That combination helps us overcome challenges." Jack added, "We also learn from experience. Every obstacle teaches us something, and we gain confidence from surviving and solving problems. Courage grows from trust, preparation, and understanding." Lyra absorbed these words. She realized that human bravery was not instinctive, but a combination of thought, trust, and emotional strength. She began to admire humans not just for their abilities, but for their hearts and minds. As the group explored a mountainous region, they faced a sudden storm. Wind and rain made movement difficult, and visibility dropped. Lyra hesitated, unsure how to proceed. Jack guided her step by step. Olivia held her hand for reassurance, and Luke suggested using natural formations to create shelter. Together, they navigated the storm safely. "Humans do not panic," Lyra said afterward. "You plan, adapt, and help each other. It is remarkable." Jack smiled. "We survive by thinking, feeling, and working together. Fear does not disappear, but it becomes manageable with support and careful planning." Lyra continued learning about human creativity and problem-solving. She observed how humans use art, music, and storytelling to express feelings, share experiences, and teach lessons. She tried to replicate these methods, composing simple sounds and gestures to convey her emotions. The humans encouraged her, praising her sincerity and effort. One day, Lyra asked about human reproduction again. She had learned the principles of biology, but she wanted to understand the emotional and social aspects. Jack and Olivia explained that reproduction is deeply connected with trust, love, and responsibility. Humans create families not just biologically, but emotionally, nurturing and guiding children as part of a larger community. Lyra listened carefully, comparing it with her species' logical approach. She realized that humans' care and emotional involvement made life richer and bonds stronger. She began to understand the importance of empathy, patience, and guidance in creating life responsibly. As they prepared to leave the mountains and return to the ship, Lyra reflected on all she had learned. She had witnessed courage, empathy, cooperation, creativity, and love. She had participated in human games, problem-solving, and lessons about life. She felt a growing connection not only to the humans but also to the values they embodied. One evening, As they camped under a sky filled with stars, Lyra spoke softly. Humans, I understand now that strength is not only in your bodies or minds, but in your hearts. You care, you protect, you teach, and you love. It makes you powerful in a way my people cannot measure. Jack placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. And you have learned well, Lyra. Understanding and caring are as important as skill or strength. The lessons we share go beyond knowledge. They are about connection, respect, and growth. Lyra nodded, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. She realized that the humans had shown her not only facts about their lives, but also the essence of what made them resilient, compassionate, and remarkable. She wanted to carry these lessons back to her own people, hoping to combine logic with care and connection. The next day, they explored the final region of their journey on Arendor. Lyra noticed how humans adapted to challenges, observed carefully, and celebrated small successes. She joined in every activity, learning not just through observation but through experience. She felt a sense of belonging and trust that was new and exciting. As they prepared to leave the planet, Lyra turned to Jack, Olivia, and Luke. Thank you for teaching me. I have learned more than I imagined. Humans are strong, wise, and kind. I will carry these lessons always. Olivia smiled. And we have learned from you too, Lyra. Your curiosity, determination, and perspective have reminded us of the value of observation, patience, and understanding. Jack nodded. This journey is just the beginning. There are more worlds to explore, more lessons to learn, and more bonds to form. Together we can face challenges, discover wonders, and grow. As the spaceship prepared to leave Arendor, Lyra looked back at the planet with admiration. She thought about the humans' courage, empathy, and intelligence. She felt inspired, determined to apply what she had learned to her own life and species. She knew that understanding humans had changed her forever. The humans watched her, proud of her progress and eager for the adventures ahead. They had not only shared knowledge, but had also built trust, friendship, and mutual respect. The lessons of Arendor would stay with them all, guiding them as they traveled through the galaxy. And Lyra, the stunning alien girl, felt ready for whatever lay ahead. She had learned the meaning of care, cooperation, courage, and love. She understood that being human was not only about survival, but about connection, empathy, and growth. She was ready to face the universe with new eyes, inspired by the beings who had shown her the power of heart and mind together.